coolest thing you could say.
What's the move?
What is the move?
What's the move?
We're back.
Back.
I had this hair on my mouth for like an hour now.
Ew.
It's just been tickling you.
Yeah. Just tickling my lip.
That's the worst.
All right.
Ew.
We're back.
I feel
Back
like
in the box.
We had a 2-week hiatus.
We did.
I feel very open. Can we shut that door?
We just ended season 1.
That's true.
So we're going to continue it on. We talked about our story. Now we kind of want to make this more valuable to the viewers.
Mm-hmm.
Give you guys a little bit of value with this. And I think I just said that. Didn't I? Yeah. Anyway, we're back.
Make it more valuable.
We were laughing at each other, not you. So
Yeah.
Okay.
So anyway, what do we got?
We got some topics. We got some individual topics.
We've also had a lot of caffeine today.
I literally just sat down in this chair. I was like, you guys, I don't feel good.
And the sun's out. Whenever the sun's out now, it's
Yeah.
we're in a good mood.
Yeah.
We're in a good mood.
Roasted.
Oh, I got it.
Ew.
There we go.
Wow.
So Jordynn, what are you going to talk about today?
I like how we immediately go to Jordynn.
I know. I mean,
Jordynn, lead us off.
Your
first at bat.
Yeah. So we really wanted to talk about just different. We all kind of are. Our niches are different. Our niches aren't different.
We restarted.
Wow. Yeah. Can we start
I like
this
it.
over?
It's good. Raw.
This is very
good.
This
It's good.
is real raw. We all definitely are focused on different things around Move Detroit and have our individual strengths that help the thing go around. So I do a lot of the nutrition coaching and then also personal training and the young kids and things like that. But the topic that I was noodling on, what I wanted to talk about was, Logan actually brought it up. It was, a lot of people start working out. Is that hair out of your mouth yet, bro?
No, I had a new one.
Okay, I'm very distracted. Yeah. Logan's like,
Falling in his face.
yeah, maybe you should shave. Don't do that again. Okay,
Okay,
so
back on topic here.
back on topic. No, I want to talk about, though, a lot of times we get people coming into the program or, throughout my time of doing this too, where you come in hot and you're working out a lot and you're doing really well. You're staying very consistent, but you're not necessarily seeing progress as far as your physique changes go or what your goals are in that sense. So, you might be getting stronger, and we've seen it too with a handful of our new members too, who are new to fitness for the most part. Like, they're definitely moving better. They're definitely getting stronger, but they're, we always ask people up front, like, what are your goals? And they're not necessarily seeing any physique changes happen. So why is that is the question that we're going to go over. And basically,
just to give it a specific, more specific example, like, I've had a few clients come up to me. They just started working out with us. This is like literally their first time working out and being consistent with it. And their goal is to lose weight, right? So they're a few weeks in and they step on the scale and they're like, why am I heavier? So that's kind of like, that's what we are kind of talking about here when it comes to the little tip that Jordan's going to shout out.
So like, why are you getting heavier? Why aren't you seeing the weight or the scale come down? And a lot of times there's a lot of shock happening to our system when you start coming in and you're lifting weights and you're putting your body under stress. Basically, when we're here, it is mentally great for us, but physically it's a very stressful situation, right? So when we do that, we are prone to building inflammation. And a lot of times on how we kind of keep that cycle in the right track, I guess, is to make sure you're fueling right, which is huge. So what are you doing after your workout and even around it? And a lot of times we see, the goal is to lose weight. Yes. So by science, you should be in a calorie deficit. Yes. But that calorie deficit is usually a lot larger than we think it is. So if you start working out and you're only eating, 1,400 calories, you're giving your body just the bare minimum. So you're adding stress to your body in the gym by moving and working out and doing all of these new things. And then also too, you're having stress because you're not fueling properly afterwards by getting in protein to kind of mend the muscle fibers back together, or proper carb sources to bring energy back to your system. And that just keeps you on that hamster wheel of inflammation. So you're not going to see weight loss. You are going to see physical strengths. You are going to start moving better, maybe able to, lift heavier weights or feel stronger, but you're not necessarily going to see weight loss unless you're prioritizing what you're doing around the workout, which is always what you're doing with your nutrition. So what you're doing post-workout, what you're doing before it, and it always comes down to eating enough, because that's what I see a lot. I'll have people all the time. I just wrapped up a 6-week program with somebody who, God, she's a badass. She's been working out for years, like powerlifting type style, lifting really heavy and so strong. And we followed each other on Instagram for years, so I've seen her journey, and she's so strong. But needed to lose weight, like for her health too, and never has been able to, really. So we get on, the way I kind of start my nutrition programming is you have to track your food. So we're tracking our food for the full time, but especially that first week up front, so I can see what your gaps and surpluses are. And it always comes down to, I work with mostly women, but even men too, like you're not eating enough calories and you're not getting in enough protein. So you're not giving your body energy. Our calories are our gas in the tank. They're our body's energy. And then protein is what helps mend the muscle fibers together, helps you rebuild that strong lean muscle tissue. So you're getting stronger and you are toning up, hardening up. And that's what you should be doing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
I have a question.
Yeah.
So, like for me personally, I've tracked my food before, and I mean, there was times where I was consistent with it, but there was also more times where I couldn't, like I just literally did not have the discipline to be consistent with it. Like, do you have any tips for anybody watching as far as like how to be more disciplined with tracking?
Yeah, I mean, my best tip for that is you find an accountability buddy. So rather that's a good friend, somebody who's doing it with you, a coach, me, honestly. And that's what I get a lot of feedback from too, is the things that I'm teaching these people, it's relatively simple, and you can learn all of these things on Google, right? But people are paying me to teach them, and it is more personal, of course. I'm able to give more recommendations, walk them through things like, Alex and I have talked about going out to eat in that moment and stuff, but it all comes down to accountability. I am checking in with you every single week. I mean, why would you check in with somebody on your health if you don't have your homework done, basically? It's the, same thing as being in school. Get your homework done, and you have to have that's a standard. You have to have your food tracked. So that's been like the positive feedback is I'm more of an accountability buddy. Yes, I teach you things, but so that would probably be my number one tip for sure.
I like that.
Yeah. Invest your money in hiring a coach or something like that. Yeah.
Do you make your clients track like their alcohol and stuff when they go out?
No, I don't. I'm definitely very lifestyle oriented. I think that the more complicated you make it for people, the least likely they are to do it. And when it comes to alcohol, I won't go too far down the rabbit hole, but alcohol is technically like the 4th macronutrient. So we have our carbs, we have our fats, we have our protein. Calories from alcohol come from somewhere. So when you see a White Claw and it's 100 calories and it's 0 carbs, like calories are made from something. They have to be made from something, right? So if you bring it to the sense of tracking your food, you would technically should be tracking that 100 calorie White Claw as either I don't know, a certain amount, I can't do the math that quick in my head, but a certain amount of carbs or fats. So what's 100 divided by 4? 25. So that would be 25 grams of carbs then for that White Claw, basically.
Yeah,
so there's 4 calories per gram of carbs, 9 calories per gram of fats. So you decide which one you want to account for. That's technically what you should be accounting for. So, back from like Prohibition days, like alcohol kind of got put into its own category. So it doesn't have to be put on nutrition labels. It doesn't have to be intertwined with nutrition. That's why we don't talk about it as a macronutrient.
I never even thought of that. Like there's no nutrition
Yeah.
label on.
There doesn't have to be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Because
never
there
thought
doesn't
about
have to be.
Because
I
I've
like
looked
So-
for it before, and I'm like,
Can't find it.
yeah.
There's sometimes there's not even an ingredient label. because there doesn't
Yeah.
have to be.
Right.
Interesting.
It's not like a law for it. So, so when it does come to alcohol and tracking when you go out, just always be smart. And because then too, I've had people get in the cycle of, oh, I had a White Claw, so I'm going to just eat less food. And it's like, if you're going to go out and drink, I'd rather you at least make sure you ate as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, you're going to go over in your calories for the day. That's a given. But if that's the choice you're choosing, at least hit your protein, at least get in, enough fuel around your alcohol.
Any specific advice when it comes to nutrition for someone going to like a bachelor party?
Like you guys.
Like us this weekend.
Yeah, my gosh. I would just stay hydrated. Yeah. Definitely stay hydrated. Salt, like electrolytes. One thing, obviously you guys are going to be drinking a lot, and every single time I have like way too much to drink, before I go to bed, I crack some salt in my hand and I throw it back with a full cup of water, and I feel 100 times better in the morning.
It's
It's just so easy. Just make sure you're staying hydrated.
Smart.
Yeah.
Bring
Eat
some
food,
salt.
but like have fun, like just stay hydrated. That's obviously something that you do once in a lifetime, or multiple times if you're going to buddies events and stuff. But yeah, it's a holiday, so celebrate, but then like get your shit back together when you get home on Sunday, right?
Yeah.
Like that's really
Absolutely.
same thing with holidays that past us. It's a holiday is one day.
Right.
It's not a week. It's not 5 days unless it's vacation. But
Yeah.
That's good.
yeah,
Like it.
that's my advice.
So-
I like some of your protein tips. Like, do you have any protein tips for people trying to get in more protein? I know you've told us.
Yeah,
before some good ideas.
always like, especially too with you guys traveling, like bring your protein powders and stuff. You guys are driving, which is awesome. So you can pack the meat sticks, you can pack beef jerky and protein powders and protein bars. And honestly, even then, like when I go out to St. Louis or when I go to Florida and I'm flying, I always bring all of this stuff with me. I have a little bag that I put all of my protein powders in, and just always eat 3 whole food meals a day. Prioritize protein in each meal. If you're going out and you're going to like a salad bar like Qdoba, or there's a bunch of these bowl places around, like sometimes order double protein and just like do your best. But protein shakes and clear protein that I've been drinking is amazing too, because it's like water. So
That shit rocks.
throw that in your bottle and just go out and have fun. Yeah.
So all in all, like basically what you're saying is you could be self-sabotaging when you're trying to lose weight by not eating enough, right?
Oh, 100%.
So when you eat more, depending on your situation and everything, you could potentially lose weight.
Yeah. And eating more of the right things too. There is a lot of times where it's, it's a calculated week, right? So you could be eating, your 1,400 calories Monday through Friday, and then, or, Monday through Thursday, and then Friday, Saturday, Sunday, you're eating 4,000 calories. Well, that balances out through the whole week and the whole month, right? So yeah, it goes back and forth. I always feel cautious of saying like eat more, because there are a lot of people that don't necessarily need to eat more. They need to switch what they are eating. But also too, like, if you are an adult and you are only eating 1,300 calories, 1,400 calories, just, I say this like in the nicest way possible, that's what a toddler eats. So
It's a good comparison
Yeah,
too.
it is.
I
You-
feel like that
you
puts in a really
know.
good perspective.
It does, yeah.
yeah, that's why we're crashing and burning at 2:00 in the afternoon. That's why we're fatigued and we're angry and we're on edge and, we're inflamed and
Like a baby.
like baby.
Little baby.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right. So a lot of times too, we'll kind of blame other things like our hormones or our cortisol levels, and these are all of the reasons why I'm not losing weight. So I'm gonna go get this medication, or I'm gonna go pay thousands of dollars for all of these testings, when it's really just like, what do your habits look like? Because that's usually the biggest gap.
Yeah.
So
Cool.
Awesome.
Good stuff.
Yeah,
I just
good,
learned
good
some
tips
too.
there.
Yeah.
yes.
Very good tips.
All right, should we go down the line?
Yeah, you're next.
You're up, dude. You're up.
So mine is a little bit more talking about like a functional approach to like movements that we do throughout our workouts, and then just everyday activities, right? So I want to talk about work, or I guess not even specifically work, but ergonomics, right? So body posture, what kinds of things can poor posture lead to and stuff like that. So right off the top of my head, I'm thinking of a lot of people who work in an office, right, at a desk. They're sitting for 6 to 8 hours a day. When you sit, right, we're not very conscious of like our posture when we sit. So naturally, yeah, chalks are perked right up. So naturally we slouch our shoulders, right? Back is kind of loose. Like we're not gonna sit like this for 6 hours every day, right?
Kind of feels good though.
It does feel good, but the biggest thing is for those people that do kind of sit, and sometimes it's, they have to for a couple hour meetings or whatever, but a lot of times you're going to see a lot of tight shoulders and pecs, right? Because the shoulder is kind of rounding forward. So you're going to see a lot of tissue restriction here and tightness. And then you start to get that curve in your upper back. And I mean, I actually have a little bit of kyphosis in my back.
Yeah, we got to work on yours.
I know. It's getting better. It's getting better. But so anyway, all of the back muscles here are getting a little weak if you don't train them, right? I'm talking about people that don't train. And then you're tightening everything here, right? So now when you're closing out the shoulder joint, you go to raise your arm up over your head, you're probably going to get some pinching, right? And a lot of people will experience shoulder pain because of that. So that's just one specific example. And then also too, maybe looking at lower body, if you are sitting for 3-hour meetings or whatever the case may be, your hips are kind of in a flex position and your knees are essentially bent, right? So hamstrings are shortened, hip flexors are shortened. So when you go to stand up and go to lengthen those, it's going to probably hurt. You're going to feel tight, right? And if that's your routine and your schedule over and over and over again, like you're going to end up having a lot of back pain. You're going to have a lot of like hip tightness. I mean, I've worked with people that I've went to go like move their hips and it literally has no movement, like side to side. And it's crazy. But, it's not really their fault if they're not educated on it. So that's kind of my goal here is just to kind of, if you are one of these people in these categories, like take what I said into consideration, either reach out to us or just like look up some videos on how to counteract that. We'll be posting content and stuff like that with specific exercises that you can do to correct that. But really just be aware of your posture, right? If you start to feel yourself slouching a lot, sit up or even stand up like every hour, right? Stand up, walk around, do a couple stretches, just move your body. So that was one of the biggest things I wanted to mention.
I'm going to ask a question on that. What, like, if you just had a couple tips, what would you say for like some tips on like desks or setup or things they can do immediately implement?
Yeah. So one thing, and I'm sure a lot of people have seen it, but a walking pad. A walking pad is really, it has a lot of benefits. If you work at home, some people can put it in their office, but that's going to obviously get you up and moving while you're working too. I've never actually tried it working on my computer, so I don't know how hard it is.
I've tried it while reading, and it's tough.
Oh.
Yeah.
I'm like,
I'll walk sideways.
I could barely read, and I can
do
barely read
it.
alone.
I have to walk
so
slow. If I'm on my computer, I just have to keep it like real slow. And then I used to use it all the time, but it was kind of, I do have one. I should bring it here, honestly, because it kind of just sits at home. I really like using the walking pad, which I can't say I've done it since I moved into my new place, but I had in my living room at my old house. And whenever I would watch like TV or if I was watching a movie, I would do my walking pad for like half of it. Because I would actually I have ADD. I'm always like, I need to move around. So sitting there and just like watching TV sometimes, I don't actually like absorb it. I'm thinking of like, when can I get up next? But if I'm like walking,
you hit your steps.
And then you hit your steps. Oh my God,
people
you can
walk.
walk.
All day, you can hit their steps.
True, yeah.
In 45 minutes.
Burning calories.
So far. Yeah, my gosh.
Burning more calories than just sitting there. So.
Yeah.
And you're keeping your mind sharp too. Like you're keeping more blood flow to your brain, So that's one thing, walking pad for sure. Another easy setup that you could change almost instantly would be getting like a movable desk or like a rising desk. So that way, if you do find yourself sitting for about an hour, you can just stand up and bring your desk up and keep working, right? And then the other thing that I've seen, I've worked with a couple people in the past that have had like wrist issues, actually. This is something that you wouldn't necessarily think about, but if you're on your computer a lot, you're typing, you have your mouse, right? You're doing a lot of these really small, fine movements with your wrists. And then I've seen some people get some tendonitis up in their forearm, and it's because of, tightness in their forearm. Because if you sit, right, your elbows are bent, so that tightens your bicep. But also doing these little fine movements, if the muscle is not strong and you're just constantly overusing it, it's going to get inflamed. So I've had to go in, I've had to, treat some of the forearm muscles, like kind of loosen them up, and then also give like strengthening stuff. So like a one off the top of my head that I've given in the past is like a finger extension. So use like a rubber band or something and just kind of sit there, open and close the fingers. So it's going to strengthen a lot of those like really, really small muscles, that do that finger extension. So you have any wrist pain, and you work at your desk a lot, try that. It might help.
Oh, yeah.
Love it.
Do you set like a, sorry. I was going to say, would you set like a standard? Like so me, for example, I'm always, and I don't think about it unless Alex comes over and he's like, like, how would you recommend to remind yourself, I guess, on doing that?
Well, it really comes down to building awareness of your body, right? Now that I've said it and I've been talking about it, everyone watching this is probably going to think about it the rest of the day at least.
That's true.
So, but just maybe set a timer on your phone. Set a timer on your phone for an hour. If you are stuck in a meeting or, you have a long day at work and you're at your desk, like set a timer every hour to get up and move, even less really, like every half hour if you have the chance, and just like literally move around, maybe just stand up, kind of do a couple twists, a couple like arm movements, like just literally move. It's going to benefit you more than just sitting there all day in the same exact position. So that would be one of the biggest things. But I think on top of that, finding, like a trainer or something or PT, and we can help correct those things and give you the right tools so that not only are you building awareness of it, but naturally your body's going to sit better, right? Like I've been working on a lot of the smaller back muscles to fix my posture, and I've noticed naturally that my shoulders actually sit back a little bit better without me even thinking about it. So,
which is just another awareness, because most people won't think like that they can correct it. So knowing that they can correct it, you just have to find the right tools and the right people to help you with it.
It's
exactly another awareness thing.
Yeah.
I like it.
So, but I'll end there. I want to save some time for your topic. This is a good one. I'm excited to hear what you have.
Yeah. So I wanted to talk about, so we do a lot of recovery services here at Move Detroit. Just really working on how because like everything we're talking about, fueling your body, working out, just like Jordynn said, you're breaking down your tissue. So a lot of times if you emphasize or really prioritize recovery, it's just adding fuel to the fire. It's just going to help so much more, because ultimately we want that muscle to grow back bigger and stronger, and recovery is just another way to do that. So I was going to talk about some of the tools that we use here, and then also go into a little bit about dry needling, because a lot of times when I tell people about dry needling, they kind of give me a weird side eye, because people are not aware of it, and they don't, no reasons that they really shouldn't be, because it's not super common yet.
People are afraid of needles too.
Yeah, that's definitely a common thing. Or a lot of, like, the biggest question I get, like, is it acupuncture? So I'll go into that too. But I'm going to start with cupping first, and then migrate into needling. And basically, when you hear the term cupping or myofascial release, whatever you want to call it, it's basically where we put a cup onto the tissue. We use like a type of suction with this gun, so that pulls the tissue up into the cup. And you'll see like a redness. You'll sometimes see a purple in the muscle too, depending on how much inflammation or how tight you are in that area. But all it's doing, it looks pretty funky. It looks kind of crazy, but all it's doing is it's bringing a lot more blood flow to the tissue, which is going to also aid in, your recovery. It's going to bring a lot more oxygen to the tissue. So it's going to help if you do have any pain or if you have any soreness. It's just kind of helping rebuild that muscle fiber. And like a lot of times if I have people coming in and let's just say they sprained their ankle or they hurt their back, for example, like Jordynn was having some back pain the other day after a workout. So we had her get on the table. We did cupping on her mid back and her low back, for example. It just brought a lot of blood flow into the area, which helps calm things down. And then it also, it helps with like the sensitivity from your brain and from your nerves too. So it desensitizes the area, because usually whenever we're in pain, that fight or flight comes on. right? So like things are amplified. So it kind of helps dull what's going on there.
You're always like focused on pain. Like you're like, oh man, my back hurts now, and then the rest of the day you're thinking about your back pain.
Right,
Yeah.
right. So if you can get something in there, it helps with that pain modulation.
I felt a difference immediately.
Yeah.
I mean, all day long my back was locked up, and then I worked out, and then it was even worse after the workout.
Yeah.
And as soon as you put the cup on that one spot, it was just like I felt it, like just fizzling away.
It's crazy.
It was honestly, it's really crazy.
Yeah.
It
If you guys
feels
haven't tried
so
it,
nice.
it's something you should always try.
Absolutely.
When people are in pain, they're always so quickly to jump, like Jordynn was saying earlier, like pharmaceutical drugs or heaven forbid surgeries, things like that. When there's so many other conservative choices, conservative meaning exercises, cupping, recovery, sauna, cold plunge, other stuff like that. So just always do your own research. Be an advocate for yourself. Always look for don't always jump to a rash decision when it comes to those things, because there's so many other options that people just aren't usually aware of. But yeah, and then diving into dry needling. Dry needling is one of my favorites. I had a lot of success getting dry needling done on myself, and that's kind of what gained a lot of interest before I was credentialed in dry needling. Like for example, I tore my pec a year ago bench pressing, and right after I tore my pec, like it'll never be the same, but I was able to get dry needling done on it, and it helped with pain. It immediately brought pain down. It got more blood into the area. I immediately was able to get more range of motion too after an injury, which is huge, because after an injury we get really stiff, like we don't move, which feeds into the problem. So a lot of times when we're not moving, obviously we're losing mobility. So if we can kind of skip right over that, we can expedite the healing. We can just get moving so much quicker. So that's kind of what got me interested in it. And then doing it now, like I said, it's very similar to cupping. The big benefits of it are going to be getting a lot of blood flow into the area, like I just said with cupping. But I can be a lot more specific with it because I'm actually getting into the specific muscle fiber. So for example, let's say you have neck pain from sitting at work all day. That's one of the big ones I've been seeing a lot lately. Like people sit with their chin out, kind of hunched over, like Logan was saying. They'll come in, to throw Schaaf's guitar here. I'm talking with my hands. They'll come in, just telling me, what's been going on with work and their neck pain. And, I'll do some dry needling on them. I'll hit, maybe like the upper neck area, like traps, or going up the spine. But all I'm doing is I'm putting a little needle into that muscle fiber, which is it usually causes a little contraction. So you'll see it jump a little bit, which is kind of crazy if you've never felt it or cool to look at. And all that's doing, people always ask like, oh, is it a good thing if it jumps? It's not necessarily a good thing, but sometimes it means to me that there's a lot of, that's like tight area. And it's almost, you can think of it as like a reset or as like a relaxing of that muscle.
I'm just thinking about when you did my trap.
I know.
It was like popping like, what's that, bubble wrap?
Yeah.
He was going into my trap with was it multiple needles or was it literally just
No,
one?
it was just one.
Okay.
Just one.
Yeah, and he just kept finding different spots and boom, boom, boom.
It was
boom.
crazy.
It was jumping.
It's crazy.
I had to tell him to stop. I'm like, dude.
I know.
We're
I was having fun.
This
Yeah.
hurts.
I was experimenting, having fun. But it's a weird sensation. And like Logan said earlier, sometimes if you're worried about needles, it's really not as bad as you would think. They're very small little needles going into the muscle. So it's usually not bad. If you are worried about it, it's something we can kind of ease into out. I always tell people, like, if you don't like it, I just take them out. That's it.
Yeah.
Alex, take him out.
Yeah.
Take him out. Take him out now.
I feel like on that note too, if you are afraid of needles, which I used to be when I was a kid, but this is like, again, it's not as severe as like getting a shot.
No.
But I also feel like it would help get used to needles.
That's a good point. Conquer that fear.
Yeah.
I can't watch needles or anything like that, but honestly, the dry needling isn't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not like you don't feel a needle going into your skin. If anything, you just feel like Logan was referring to, like the muscle contracting, which is a crazy feeling, but it doesn't hurt.
Yeah.
So if you have a needle phobia, get dry needling.
Yeah. Get over it.
Get
over it.
Get over it.
Get dry needling. Get over it.
But yeah, it's by far my most requested. People love it. People that can tolerate needles, they love it because it's I'm not going to say it's an instant release, but you almost get an instant release from it afterward. Whether it's pain, whether it's tightness, you feel so much better after you get it done. And then you always, like, I always follow up with some corrective exercises too, like Logan was saying, because the needles are great. That we can expedite the healing process and work on the tissue mobility, but we always got to follow up with something. If we never follow up with something, we're not making a long-term change. So it's always implementing something you can do at home and here, whatever it is, just working on the problem at hand for more long-term changes.
My last question on that. So you put the electrodes on it too.
Mm-hmm.
Can I talk about that?
Yeah.
That adds a whole different element.
Yeah, so I put jumper cables on it. No, I'm just joking.
That's what they look like.
They literally do look like, they're little alligator clips. They look like jumper cables. But so I put the needle into the muscle, and then I put little jumper cables onto those needles. All it does, it sounds scarier than what it is, but all it does is it causes an actual contraction. So it causes that muscle to pulse. It kind of feels like a heartbeat, and you can visually see, and then the person getting it done can actually feel it. But that muscle just pulses a little bit. And what that's doing is it can help calm the muscle down. It can help with pain. Or let's say like Logan was saying earlier, let's say you haven't activated a portion in your back, or you've never used those muscles for 10 years. Sometimes it's hard at first to feel those muscles working when you're working out, just because they've been dormant for how many years. So the needling can be helpful because it can cause that contraction in the muscle. And then we can pair it with the exercises so you actually feel it working, and it just helps with that mind-muscle connection.
Yeah, so it's more than just pain relief.
It's a lot more than pain
relief. It can
relief.
help reactivate some stuff. So.
I always tell people it's like resetting your car battery. You're getting a whole reset. It helps with the mind-muscle connection, helps with the nerve to muscle, so actual activation of the muscle, and then any pain or any tightness.
Oh yeah,
I like it. So eat your food.
Yeah.
Sit up straight. Try dry needling.
Bingo.
You'll
feel so much better.
You will.
Yeah.
You will.
Do all of those things and come to
all
Move
right.
Detroit.
Thanks for hanging out with us on What's the Move. Stay tuned for next week's episode.
What's the move?
See you soon.
Do your podcast at Shoebox. Woo.
Shoebox.
Shout out Shoebox.
Oh.
Shout out Shoebox.
Great hospitality.
Always.
What's the move?